Hi, I'm Jessica, and welcome to my channel, Hero Born Stitches. On this channel, we will talk mostly about cross stitch, but my quilting and my knitting might sneak in a little bit. It hasn't yet, but I think it will at some point. To all of my returning viewers, welcome. It's really good to see you again. To anyone who has found me through the magic of YouTube, you are very welcome here. As always, feel free to leave a comment if you have any questions, reach out. I love to have the engagement and get to know a little bit more about who is watching me. So please always feel free to do that. So I am super happy to be recording today, and I have a ton of things to share with you. As you guys probably noticed, I didn't record last weekend. I've been trying to record every weekend, but it just didn't work out last weekend for a number of different reasons, which I will get into in a minute. So today we are going to look through my temperature stitching, and I have 2 weeks worth of it. So there is a lot, and some new things that you haven't seen before were actually called. I also want to give you an update on my stitch alongs, my SALs, and some other WIPs that I have been working on through the round robin, or now I'm joining in the extended WIP Into Shape challenge. So I want to share those with you. I do have one fully finished object that I'd like to show you. Also something kind of new and cool that I made that I'll show you in just a minute here. And let's see what else. Just plans, like talking about plans, I guess, for the future. And boy, there are a lot of them also. So we probably better get going. First, I would like to start off with a life update, though. You know, that's always kind of a good place to start. So I am super happy to report that after many weeks, we finally have a fully working dishwasher, garbage disposal, and faucet. It did take us having to call in a plumber, which I'm not surprised. That usually happens. But I am really happy not to have to wash my dishes by hand. I know, first world problems. But I'm also really happy to have water on a regular basis and all of those great things. So we finally have that taken care of. Last weekend, I ended up traveling to see my husband's children and grandchildren. We got married later in life, at least a second marriage for both of us. So we have his kids and his grandkids and my grandkids, and mine live to the west and his live to the east. So sometimes that takes some traveling to get to see everybody. So that was a really nice visit. I think I might have stopped becoming that scary lady that is with grandpa. That's what I was just called for quite a while. That who is that lady with grandpa over there? So I think I finally might have crossed over that threshold. The other reason I really did not record a formal video was because the last time I recorded a video, I was so frustrated. I had to change out computers for work. And so my new computer worked a little bit differently. Initially, I couldn't find the files when I downloaded them. So that was like this huge hunt to find the files. And then when I finally found all the files, put everything into my video software, editing software, perhaps I was a little bit cocky. I thought I knew what I was doing. And I ended up like messing everything up, just completely messing everything up, like badly. I think I was sitting there for 7 hours trying to edit that video and put it together in something that made at least a little bit of sense. And then when I was uploading it I was exporting it, and then it just turned into this thing. I exported it again. I thought I knew where the files were going to. They went someplace else. It took me forever to find those. And by the time I had done that, some of the files apparently became not able to be found. And I don't know what I did to make that happen. So I couldn't export it, and I had to go back and try to do these things all over again. It was super, super frustrating. And so I was done. I was done. I was like, I cannot sit down and record a video this weekend, especially because I had other things going on. So instead, I recorded that little 2+ minute just kind of preview of what I am doing for the Great British Cross Stitch Baking Show game, a game that is hosted by Jessie Marie Does Stuff. Of course, I will link her below. She has this brain that just comes up with all of these amazing games. And I am a sucker for a good game and anything that helps me be more productive. So yeah, so I kind of committed to that. I wanted to get that out in a platform so that I was not tempted to switch my projects. Because it airs, it's actually Thursday, September 4th, when I'm recording this. I'm recording part of it on Thursday, September 4th, probably the rest of it early Saturday morning on the 6th. But right now it's the 4th, and it airs in the US for the first time tomorrow. And I wanted to make sure I got that recorded and out there and kind of memorialized before I saw how the bakers did and decided to maybe switch projects around a little bit. I really wanted that to just be clean, like just assigning projects without knowing who the bakers are. So I did that. Some of them I am super excited about working on. Some of them not quite as excited about working on, but they're all things that I know I need to be working on. So that's good. I'm really glad to be doing that. I am questioning a little bit the number of stitches that I plan to do with the different events. So that might have to be shifted around a little bit, just depending on how things go. But I love that show. I have always loved that show. So put it together with stitching and I'm there. So thank you, Jessie Marie. Great job. So yes, I put that out there, and I'm sorry for the earworm. I wanted some music, something, so you just weren't staring at blank, blank, blank. I guess blank, blank doesn't make a whole lot of sense. But anyway, so you guys were so I had something to listen to while I was scrolling through the different contestants and the projects I was doing. And I put it together on Canva, and I refuse to pay for premium Canva. And a lot of the music, and probably I just should at this point, but a lot of the music that is free is a little bit much. It's a little extra. So I found something that was kind of peppy, and I did not realize what an earworm it was until after I had uploaded it and posted it and done all of that. And I was just like, oh, Jiminy Christmas. That's ridiculous. So I apologize for that. It did take a 2-minute video, took forever to upload also. I have no idea why. But I did see some FlossTubes recently where other FlossTubers were having the same issue, really extended periods of time to upload things. So that is another part of the reason why I'm recording part of this today. So I will have more time Saturday morning and still be able to get it up Saturday at a reasonable time. I kind of don't like it when I have to wait until Sunday because of everything. So my goal is Saturday. My goal is always Saturday. So yeah, so we had all of that going on. Work has been work, as it always will be. I'm kind of at that age where retirement is close enough just to be really tantalizing and have me thinking about it all the time, but not close enough. Just not close enough. It's just not close enough. So, and I enjoy my job. I really do. But there are times that I just so look forward to that retirement. And I have worked with all sorts of people who really struggle. They struggle in retirement because they don't have anything to do. They feel like they don't have a purpose. That a lot of people like that I've been around get really almost depressed when they retire. That will not be me. I have more hobbies that I know what to do with. I have more crafting supplies than I know what to do with. What I am short on is time. So I'm thinking that once retirement hits, I will be in hog heaven all the time in the world to do things. One quick thing I wanted to run into before I start looking at stitching and all of that stuff is I did a thing. I did a thing. On the last video, I think maybe the last video, I was talking about bags because I had these beautiful bags that I had ordered from Stewart's and Stitches, and I loved them. And I was asking for recommendations for other places to buy bags, probably specifically in the States because of those lovely tariffs. It doesn't make sense to not only just nobody knows what to do, but it doesn't make sense to probably order them from someplace else. And I had, a number of really good suggestions. And so I was out there looking all over Etsy and looking at all these different bags and found a whole lot, and I had a whole bunch in my cart. And at a certain point, I thought, I have a ton of fabric, like literally a ton of fabric. Because not only am I a quilter and we collect fabric, but my husband is the best or the worst enabler in the world. I am not sure which way that goes, but he bought me a couple years ago. His sister, who was also a quilter, was moving into a smaller space. And so she had to get rid of a lot of her stash. And so he decided to gift me one Mother's Day with all of the stash that she was getting rid of. And it was like 5 huge totes of fabric, like huge totes of fabric. And there was not a piece in there. They were not scraps. There was not a piece in there that was smaller than 2 yards. I mean, just tons of fabric in every color imaginable, every print imaginable. Some I liked more than others, but I have all of it still just because, I don't know, just because. Shortly after that, I got the long arm machine, and you've heard me talk about that. And I thought, oh, these would be good to practice on. So I didn't want to get rid of anything, even if I didn't like it. But so I have a ton of fabric. Further, before I was quilting, I used to sew quite a bit. It was a lot when I was younger, but I mean, I made my own prom dress. I used to actually be a very capable sewist. And then I haven't done any of it in a while. I guess I just have not had interest in doing it. So anyway, so I started looking at all these bags, and I started wondering, can I do that? I wonder if I could do that. Because I mentioned, I know on the last video, I don't need another hobby. Don't know how to make bags. But so I started looking up tutorials, and I was thinking, well, so that's not that hard. I could do that. I absolutely could do that. So I reached up onto my shelf, pulled a couple fabrics just at random that sort of matched each other, and I made a bag. I made a bag. I'm looking at this, and it looks like I have a setting that I need to change because you cannot see anything. So, hold on. Let me fix that. Oh, how frustrating. I record on Zoom for the most part because that's what I record on for work. And I hope you just didn't see me change all those settings. And I have like a heavy comfort level with it. So yeah, so I had that. I had to Zoom since I recorded last time, and I always have that portrait lighting on when I Zoom so nobody sees my messy office in the background. Anyway, I made a bag. I made a bag, and it is even a fully lined bag. It has fully lined. And when I was done, I mean, it didn't turn out exactly as I planned, I think. So when I was putting the zipper down, I intended the zipper to be over here because I am right-handed. And I had sat down and I had sandwiched everything together and was sewing the zipper in. And then I was not happy with how close I was sewing to the zipper. So I decided to pull out my zipper foot, an amazing thing, pull out the zipper foot and put it on. So I picked out a bunch of stitches before I did that. And then when I put it back together, I don't think I put it back together quite right. And so when I was done, I was like, oh, I guess I maybe need to put the zipper on the other side to make that work. But yeah, so I didn't think it turned out too bad. And I was so happy. I was running around going, look, I made a bag. I made a bag. Look, I made a bag. And I just put stuff in it right away. But then if you know me, I have this personality where it's like, oh, I made a bag. I need to make more bags. How many bags could I make? Oh, I have a lot of fabric to make bags. All that I need is some interfacing and some zippers. Could I order zippers in bulk? I bet I could. Man, think about all the bags I could make. I have all sorts of projects that need bags. That would be fantastic. Hey, my sister-in-law is coming up on October 4th for a craft show, and she has asked me to work the table with her. Maybe if I got really busy between now and then, I could make a bunch of bags and sell them at the table at the craft show. Yeah, that's a great idea. No, it's really not a great idea. I have no time to do that. But as I think I may have shared with you guys before, one of my biggest toxic traits probably is when I get really busy, maybe too busy. My first instinct is, let's do something else. Let's add something else onto that pile so I can just increase that stress. So I am trying really hard not to do that with bags, but if I'm being entirely honest, I have at least 2 more ready to go that I have not let myself do this week. But yeah, so I made a bag, and I do not think it is too bad of a job, all things considered, for a first bag. And I realized also when I was doing it, I have to show you the lining again, just a little bit proud. I realized when I was doing it that I am used to sewing things that require a lot more detail with quilting, trying to get points where I'm not cutting off points, and sometimes really, really, really little pieces because I love to challenge myself. So this was nothing. This didn't take hardly any time at all. So I know I will be making more. So I'm sorry, you're going to see more bags. But yeah, so I made some bags. Very happy to do that. Okay, with that, I want to go ahead and get started with all my works in progress. And let's get going. The first WIPs I want to go through are my temperature stitching. For temperature stitching, what I have done is I have selected 10 WIPs and assigned them a digit 0 through 9. And then what I do is I look at the projected high temperature every day and put at least 100 stitches into that project that corresponds with that temperature. This is something I do to kind of force me maybe to touch some WIPs that I haven't touched in a while, and to try to make some progress on things that really need progress made on them. I have changed it just a little bit over the past few weeks as I have gone back to work. Previously, I was waking up each morning, looking at the high temperature and doing those 100 stitches. I do not have that type of time in the morning most of the time. So what I have started doing is sitting down on Saturday and looking at the projected high temperatures for the whole week and making a list of all the temperature stitching that I need to do that week. That allows me, if I need to touch a project, I only have to touch it once. And it's just a little bit more efficient. It allows me to schedule my time a little bit better. So yeah, so I started doing that. So I have, I think, 8 projects over the last 2 weeks that have come up. So let's get going on those. The first one is 'Tis the Season. It is a cross-stitch rendering of a Charles Wysocki painting. It is a dimensions kit that I have had for a very, very long time. It is just on Aida with the floss that was in the kit. And this is where it was last time you saw it. It was only called once these past 2 weeks, but I was still able to make a little bit of progress on there. I didn't iron anything before I came on today, so pardon my wrinkles. What I did was see, how do I want to do this? What I did was I kind of put the color in this sign over here. Can I point at what I need to point at? Believe it or not, just putting the color in that sign was 100 stitches right there. It was actually a little bit over 100 stitches. And while I was doing it, I realized that I never finished the line on the bottom, probably because I had done the 100 stitches and didn't want to start some new floss the time I had picked it up previously. So yeah, I made a little bit of progress on that. This is the one that just almost never came up, and I'm always glad when it does come up because it's starting to come up a little bit more. So good thing. So Dimensions Kit, 'Tis the Season by Charles Wysocki. That is the first piece of temperature stitching. The second piece of temperature stitching is a new one that I had substituted in for something that had timed out. It is the WEE3 Santas, WEE3 Santas Bell Pull Kit. This is what I found in the Needlework casket. Once I got it jimmied open, that I totally forgot I had this. This is where it was the last time you saw it. Just that one cute little Santa, some border stripes on the top, one of the border stripes on the bottom. And yeah, and that was just about it. And a bunch of threads that needed woven in. So that came up once. And the first thing I did was weave in all those threads that needed woven in. I also noticed I have a mistake up here in the Algerian eyelets on the second row of Algerian eyelets. So I'm going to have to go back in and fix that. I didn't take the time to fix that right now. So I had one of these rows was in. So I did the 2 satin stitch hearts on either side here. I did the second row of Algerian eyelets in this border stripe here and started this Santa's hat. And it's so hard to believe sometimes, but that was 100 stitches. I really didn't think that I was there yet, but I really was. When I was reading the pattern over before I started it, I realized that there were beads that went with this. I think I might have those. Actually, now I think those beads were in the bag and I didn't think they went to this. So I don't have the jingle bells, which I think go on the hats. There's a couple charms. There's like a Christmas tree charm and a teddy bear charm that they're holding. This guy should be holding a teddy bear. And then there are some beads that get added, I think, in the center of the Algerian eyelets and maybe some other places. So I'm going to have to find those charms and those jingle bells, but that is very doable. Those aren't too hard to find. What I did notice when I was doing this, and it's one of those dangers of having a WIP that you haven't worked on in 20, 25 years, is I could not find all the floss. Specifically, it was just missing the middle green, the medium green floss. But I also realized when I was going through here that I had changed the floss colors up. So trying to identify what I had changed to what was a little bit challenging. Luckily, they're all DMC colors, so that was pretty easy to do once I started getting down to it. And I think what I did is I just pulled out a stash instead of buying floss for this. And the reason why I think I did that is my Princess and the Pea piece that you guys have seen maybe previously, if you watched me previously, when I was trying to organize all the floss from that, I was missing some colors. And I remember thinking, why am I missing those colors? I know I didn't do anything with them. I know they lived in this box and they've lived in this box for 30, probably over 30 years. Yeah, over 30 years for sure. Why are they not there? I thought that was really weird because I'd always just kept them all together. And while I was going through here and realized that some of the flosses that were on the chart didn't match the flosses that were in the packet I had for this, I went, oh, I think I pulled out of here for the princess. I pulled out of the Princess and the Pea for some flosses for this. Those flosses can stay with this now, though, because I replenished everything in the Princess and the Pea when I was doing it. So yeah, this only got called once, this We Three Friends Santa Bell Pull. This will go so quickly. The reason I did not do the little trees in here is because of that medium green. I needed to go make sure I had that color, figure out what that color was. Didn't want to take the time, so I just skipped it. It won't take hardly any time at all. There's just 3 of them. And now that I have all the ends woven in and the flosses identified, it will go even more quickly. So that is the second piece of temperature stitching I have for you guys. The third one is the kitten ornaments. That was called Once also. This is what it will look like when it is done. Over here, I'll show you what it looked like last time you saw it. And yet again, you are probably not going to be able to see any hardly any progress on this because all that I worked on this time was white, just absolutely nothing but white. I have a little bit of white left to do in the dress here. And there is a little pom-pom on a hat that is red for this little, I don't know what that is. It kind of looks like a worm. I do not think it's a worm, but it kind of looks like a worm. And then I've got some darker red and just a couple pieces of gray that I noticed I had missed, and then black. And then it's just back stitching. I will do the black last because a lot of this little kitten is back stitched in black. And so when I pull out that black floss, I'll just do the couple black stitches and then do the back stitch. This, like a lot of things that were put out in the 90s, is very, very, very back stitch heavy. So I think I'm going to be back stitching for days once I get to that point. But like I said, the other one that I have mostly finished, just I'm on the back stitch piece of that, I will pick up and I will do that at the same time. So I think these were by Something Special. They were just some kitten Christmas ornaments that I had started a very long time ago while I watched my daughter take a bath. This was my bathroom project, and she is 30. So if that tells you how old this is. The next piece that came up, and these really didn't come up in this order, it's just the order that they're piled in next to me, is the Log Cabin Christmas by Little House Needleworks. This I am doing all in one piece. I think the picture of it that I'll put up here has them all no, it is just an artist rendering of this because I couldn't find a photo of them all together. And this is what it was last time you saw it. This was only called once also. And what I was able to do was fill in some more of this little log cabin over here. I kind of hesitated to pull this one out at first because it is so hard to get 100 stitches on because there's not big chunks of color anywhere. And I end up counting a lot, and I don't love that. I don't love sitting there and counting stitches. It's such a waste of time. But when I did pull it out, I realized that the whole roof of the log cabin is one color. The windows and doors of the log cabin are that color also. So I could pretty easily get 100 stitches without too much fiddly bits. And of course, I found a place that I missed a couple stitches in the white, so I will need to go back and do that. But there's other white on there too that I'll have to take care of. So this is on linen that I cannot remember what it is. I think it might be 32 count. It's either 28 or 32 count. It's definitely not 36. And I'm just using the called for Classic Color Works with it. This is a Witchell linen. I don't know which one it is offhand. Just some kind of beige Witchell linen that I'm doing this on. So Little House Needleworks, Log Cabin Christmas. Got a little bit of progress over the last few weeks. This next one I have to show you is also a new one that I just substituted in over the past 2 weeks when I pulled something else out, and that is Nature's Window. This is what it will look like where it is done. And this is where it was last time you saw it. This was another one that was in the Needlework casket that I discovered when I jimmied it open. So this was called 3 times. And that was pretty great. I was really excited to work on this. But much like the little Santa, I discovered that I did not have all the floss. So what I was missing was what I really wanted to be stitching, which was the yellows, because I had these orange yellow pieces stitched on either side, and I wanted to kind of fill those in. I thought that would be an easy place to start. It is a kit. I forget the maker of the kit. I think I said that when I first pulled it out. If I remember, I will put that down below, but I'm pretty good at forgetting that. And so a lot of it is using 3 strands of floss, and I actually did that on this. And there are some blends in there. And the only floss I was missing in this entire thing was the yellows. And I had one of the yellows. I just didn't know whether it was the light yellow, the very light yellow, the medium yellow, or the dark yellow. I knew it was not the orange yellow. I could figure that out. So luckily, again, they were DMC. So I went back and I looked and I found a couple of them. I was also missing the peach, I guess. I found a couple of them in my stash and I have the rest of them on a list that I need to either go buy. I mean, it's DMC. Next time I am someplace that I can buy that. So I needed to find something else to stitch. So I grabbed the blues for these little bluebells here and just stitched away. So I added all three of those bluebells. This one at the very bottom, I think they're bluebells. We're going to say they're bluebells. This one at the very bottom, which way am I going, is not finished. Because they're pre-cut lengths of floss and they're not very long, not as long as I would like them to be if I cut them. And then we're using 3 at a time. You can't get very many stitches out of each length of floss. And because of that, I really didn't want to start a new length if I didn't have a place to finish it. And once I get a little bit further down, I will be able to carry that blue down a little bit further. So after I did all of those blues, those 3 different blues, I still had some stitches left. And so I filled in some of the green. But yeah, I was really happy. I mean, I love blue and orange together. It's like my favorite combination. And so bringing that blue in front of those oranges just really started to make this pop. So I hope this keeps getting called and I get to keep working on it more and more and more. All right. Next piece was the Moon and Sun Sampler by the Scarlet Letter. I think I told you guys DMC. Yeah, DMC just on some 14 count off-white Ada. Okay, next piece that was called was the Moon and Sun Sampler by the Scarlet Letter. This is what it will look like when it's done. This is where it was last time you saw it. It is on just the linen that came with the kit. This was a kit and with the silk that came with the kit. So I was able to, hold it right, Jess. I was able to get the entire border done. And even these little like peaky, pointy bits on the bottom border. So okay, I'm going to fix what I just said. Correct that. I got the whole olive green part of the border done. There is gold silk that is woven kind of in between the stitches. I mean, the stitches are woven in between the other stitches around here. So next time I pick it up, next time it's called, I get to put a new color in it, which will be amazing. The border mashed up great. As soon as I have the border done, I think it will go really super, super quick because it's not really that big. But yeah, I was able to get the whole border finished, and I don't know whether you guys can see that. And yeah, it has all these little peaky, it's like one strand of silk over one. This is really, really pretty little. A little bit fiddly, but it's okay. So yeah, so almost ready to add a new color on that. Next time it's called, I'll be really looking forward to that. Next piece that was called was Hands-On Design Seasons 2, a celebration. This is what it will look like when it's done. These are all done individually in this picture. I decided to do everything in one piece. This is where it was last time you saw it. It is on some 28 count linen or even weave by Fiber on a Whim in the color Cypress. And I am just using the called for Classic Colorworks on this. The border I did in black coffee, and all the work I did on it was black coffee. So I was able to add the letters, like the letters to that little sign thing, and was able to do three plus of the little jack-o'-lanterns down there. I also put in a couple of the bats up around the moon that were done, that were there because I didn't have to carry my floss very far to do that. Yeah, so it was only called once, so it was just 100 stitches, but It still got me going. So next time this is called, I'm definitely finishing off the jack-o'-lanterns and probably putting the stem on the pumpkin. And then that will give me a good base to kind of put the rest of the motifs in, and really, really get this very close to finish. It will finish up quick once I'm able to do that, because the motifs up there are very small. There's a couple stars, more bats, things like that. So hands-on design, seasons 2, a celebration with classic color works on Fiber on a Whim. And I think the last piece I have to talk about is Spooky and Sweet. This is a stitch along from last year, Halloween time, from Fat Quarter Shop. Actually, it was last summer, because it always comes out in the summer. This is the only one that I had started that I had not finished. This is what it was the last time you saw it. This is on charcoal dyed effect, 28 count even weave by Fabric Flair. This was called 4 times. This has been over its 10 times at this point. I did not think, oh, I don't know what that is. Little bits. I did not think it was going to take more than 1,000 stitches to get finished, but I think that little vampire was a little bit deceptive. But I did get the vampire all done. So all that is left is 3 little motifs under the ghost, the witch ghost there, and I will be done. Now, I did make a mistake in the vampire. I realized when I was doing the bottom part of the cloak that I have him two stitches too far to this side. So I was not able to make the cloak super peaky. By the time I noticed that, however, I had done his whole hairline, I had done his whole face, I had done the top of the cloak, and I had done a good part of the darker part of his cloak, and there was no way in the world I was picking that all out. So I just moved him. So I just kind of went 1 stitch closer to the border. So there's just 2 stitches between him and the border, and there's just 2 stitches between the ghost and the border. So I didn't feel too badly about that, and made it as peaky as I could. Kind of change the bottom a little bit of that white underneath his cloak there. Yeah, so this is getting very close. Even though this has had more than its 10 times, I am not taking this off temperature stitching until it is finished. It needs to be done. I'm guessing in maybe 2 other calls, it should be done, because those motifs aren't very big. Even if it's not done in those 2 calls, I might make sure it is done so I can just kind of get it off my list. Yeah, so Spooky and Sweet, it is a Fat Quarter Shop. It's a free pattern stitch along from summer 2024. And that is it for my temperature stitching. The next thing I need to talk to you about is my progress on the Gridiron Grind. Like you know, if you were watching my last videos, I decided to participate in the Gridiron Grind, which is being hosted by Kim, the Spartan Stitcher. And in this, you kind of make your own rules. You pick things that are going to happen in a football game, like pick your team. It could be college, it could be high school, it could be pro, and then pick different events that might happen during the game and assign a certain number of stitches to it. So I am doing the Kansas City Chiefs. I'm a Kansas girl, so that's not super surprising. And my rules are that whenever Mahomes has a running touchdown, it's 150 stitches that I need to do. Anytime Mahomes connects to Kelsey, it's 102 stitches, because if I take 87 and then add 15 to it, that gets me 102. Any points that are scored in quarters 1 through 3, I need to stitch 10 stitches per point. Any points that are scored in the 4th quarter, because we know our Chiefs like that 4th quarter scoring, I need to stitch 15 stitches for. If Taylor Swift is at the game, I need to stitch 130 stitches. And I am a Swiftie, so I always watch for that. And for every turnover that the opponent has, I need to stitch 95 stitches, because Chris Jones's jersey number is 95. So all that I've stitched up to this point is preseason. I know that the last time I recorded, I owed it 474 stitches, and I did get those done. What I am doing is Santa at the North Pole by Scott Gustafson. This is just a piece of a larger piece of artwork that was made into an ornament by Heaven and Earth Designs. It's charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. This is where it was last time you saw it. And this is where I am after adding those 474 stitches. I am just doing this on some Zweigart white 28 count 1/1, just with the called for DMCs. It is a little bit fiddly. It is not gridded. I thought about taking the time to grid it, but you know what? I don't use gridded fabric very well. I'm not sure I really know how to use gridded fabric very well. So I'm not sure that would be worth the time. It is pretty small for 1/1, but that's okay. That's okay. I just really wanted a project, a full coverage project that was dedicated just for Gridiron Grind. So by the time you guys see this, since I'm recording this portion on Thursday, there will have been another game because the Chiefs play their first regular season game on Friday night. So I will have some more stitches that I am required to do in this. I am hopeful to be able to keep this up. I will tell you, I am starting to get really frustrated with this piece. I just need to see something more than just sky. And it's going to be a minute before I get there. And on top of that, there's almost no block stitching. Everything is, there's almost never two colors next to each other. So that can get really, really tiresome trying to get that all on there. I do like the way it is looking. I just need to see something. I need to see something other than just murky sky up at the top. I need some Santa. Give me some Santa and I'll be good to go. But yeah, so this is how far I got on that. And like I said, by the time you see this, there'll be more stitches that I need to make in this, and I might have already made them by the time you are viewing this. Okay, the next thing I want to talk to you about is my stitch alongs. I am a sucker for a stitch along. If you know me, you know that is very, very true. The Autumn Nights stitch along started with Fat Quarter Shop. This is the free one that they do every summer. So this is the autumn Halloween one from the summer of this year. It started. There's been 2 releases so far. Turn this right side around. And this is what you're just going to see it on the page anyway, because I'm totally caught up. But this is where we are so far. It is really nice autumnal colors. It says fall is in the air on all the sides. So the border and the words were the first release, and then these leaves and pumpkin and this little star type thing were the second release. There's only 4 releases to this, so there's only 2 more installments that need to come out, and they go across. So the next one is like the kind of the middle, and then the final one is the bottom. Yeah, beautiful autumnal colors. This is on this new fabric that they started carrying at Fat Quarter Shop. I want to say like Digi something. Just digitally printed fabric. It's at a really good price point. This is Sugar Cookie, and I am just using the called for Classic Colorworks. I do like the fabric. It's very easy to stitch on, but it also really comes apart on the sides very quickly. And I am not the kind of person who typically does anything to the sides when I'm stitching. And with this, I think I might have to. So other than that, I do like it. I mean, Sugar Cookie's very, very, it's not really modeled. It's not really anything. It just almost looks just like an off-white piece of fabric. So I'm not really sure what they printed on the front of it, but I do like it. I do like it. Now there is an error on the bottom border here. This bottom fall is in the air. I'm correct over on the F side. Like that is as far in as it's supposed to be, but I am one stitch in where this R is. And I ripped it all out and did it all over again because I couldn't see where my error was. And I am still one stitch long. I know it is square. It is perfectly square. So I know there's not an error in the border. I'm going to wait until I get down to release number 4 and then see. I'm not going to count off the bottom, and then I'm going to kind of see where the error might be and then fix it. After ripping it out and doing it again and still having the same error, there was no chance, absolutely no chance I was going to rip it out a third time. So I will be fixing that when it shows up. So yeah, there's just 2 more installments of this, and then that will be done. The other stitch along I have going on right now is just really the end of the Abandoned Sal by Kenny Stitches. This is the Steady Threads Blackwork Sal that they're doing all year. I got way behind. Through this Abandoned Sal, I was able to make a lot of progress. This is where it was last time you saw it. Now my goal was to do 1 thread a day on this. This is on, it's an Ada. I think it's an 18 count Ada by Fiber on the Whim. Cafe, blah, 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 blah. Can't pronounce it. And this is just black coffee that I'm using on it. They have like little threads all over things. That's something I didn't weave in yet. Yikes. So as you guys will see, hold on, I'm just going to pull that through to the back because that is driving me nuts. Okay. As you will see, I still didn't do any of the motifs and the circles. I have just been doing circles. I owe this piece about 7 lengths of floss. I mean, August is over. And I don't know. I have decision paralysis on this. I am not really sure what color I want to do the motifs in. And every time I think I've made a decision, I second guess myself. And so when I'm picking up floss, I just end up doing circles. It is really getting to the point where I have to stop doing the circles, or else I'm going to have to do more border. And that's just silly. I just need to get to the motifs. So like I said, I still owe it 7 lengths of floss. This is something that is one of my projects for the Great British Baking Show also. So I know I will continue to make progress on it. I just need to get off the fence and figure out what color I want to do with the motifs. So Steady Thread, Blackwork Sal, making progress. Blackwork Sal for Kenny Stitches, Abandoned Sal. All right. Now, I have a new stitch along that I am starting on top of everything else that I've committed to, the Great British Baking Show, the Gridiron Grind, the temperature stitching that I'm doing. Satsuma Street announced and teased this, the Holiday House, their new sal that is starting on September 5th, which is tomorrow. And yeah, I just jumped. I just had to do it. I just knew I had to do it. I loved the Monster House sal. I didn't know about that until after probably 3 or 4 releases had come out, and I just did not feel like I could start something new. I was really in the mood for holiday stitching though, and then this popped up on my Instagram, and I went, "Oh, yes, please, yes, I will do that." Yes, I mean, how fun is that? So I am working almost entirely from stash for this. I have a piece of Zweigart 32 count raw linen with silver in it, like raw silver linen. So it's very sparkly. That will work perfect for this. I'm just going to use the called for DMCs. There was a handful that I had to go pick up. I mean, maybe 5 that I had to go pick up that I didn't already have in stash. And honestly, I probably had the rest someplace. They were just in a different project. And pick up the metallics. There was some suggested metallics that you didn't have to use. So this is starting tomorrow. really looking forward to starting that. So next time I record, you should hopefully see some progress on that. And that is it for the SALs. Saled out at this point. Hi, I'm back. It is Saturday morning. I finished up my week at work and I am back. I have a little bit more recording to do until I can start editing and then hopefully uploading this. So I wanted to start off with a couple of things that I forgot to mention on Thursday when I was recording. And the first is, like last weekend when we were meeting family, one of the places we went was Cracker Barrel. I used to really love Cracker Barrel's food. Now every time I go, I'm just a little bit not impressed. But what I was so impressed with Cracker Barrel was their Halloween decorations that they had out. And we picked up lots of things. But my favorite by far is this. It's, if you can see it in there, it's a little jar and it says deadly poison. And there is a big fake spider in that green jar and little bats that fly around it with a nice green light. It eats batteries like nobody's business. I know we're getting a lot of glare on that, but how can I do that without glare? Huh, maybe. Yeah, there we go. Yeah, it eats batteries like nobody's business, but it is just one of my favorite things so far. So spooky and fun. So I got that at Cracker Barrel. I won't show you the rest of the decorations. That was just the one that I was most excited about. The other thing I forgot to talk about was the Extraordinary Birds Sal. As you guys, I'm sure you guys know, the final release came out. I am 5 full releases behind. I had promised to make some progress on it, and that did not happen. I don't know what I'm going to get to it. I kind of decided that the next time something drops off a temperature stitching, I'm going to put that Sal in there. So hopefully it'll get me moving on it a little bit. I also know in my Great British Breaking Show list, I have one contestant that is just my choice. I can do the stitches on whatever project I want to do on. I've thought about putting that in there also occasionally, just trying to get it done. I love it. It is beautiful, but there is a lot of stitching, especially in that last release. Holy moly, there's a lot of stitching. But I would like to get it done. I would like to get it done because I really have enjoyed it all along, even though I've been mad at it a little bit. So yeah. So those are the things I kind of forgot. So let's move on to the rest of my stitching. All right, the first WIP I want to talk about is my round robin. I am in Stitching Connections J with the Stitching Connections that Jason X Stitches put together. I am slowly making progress on this. I really kind of slowed myself down, and I shouldn't have slowed myself down quite so much. But what I am doing is I am doing Winter Stars by Modern Folk Embroidery. I am doing it on 36 count Cream and Sugar by Fiber on a Whim and Country Garden Threads, I want to say, Cottage Garden Threads and Mistletoe. Let's see if I can get this right way up. I finished the diagonal that wasn't finished last time. This is what it looked like last time you saw it. I finished the diagonal that wasn't finished last time. And in the process of doing that, it doesn't look like that because I didn't bother ironing anything, but as it is straight, I promise. It is straight. I promise. But in the process of doing that, as I'm bringing this diagonal down, I realized that my kind of zigzag diagonal was off a few stitches because it wasn't contacting this diagonal at the right place. It looked like it was right, but it wasn't. So probably around right here, I sort of went off the rails there. And so I had to pull all of this stuff back out. I finished the diagonal, then I put all of the stuff back in. So this is what I was doing last night when I was watching the Chiefs lose. So yeah, did not get as far on that as I wanted. My plans really are to kind of finish off the top border here, count out as far as I need to so that my stitching connection partners will know exactly where that edge is. And then there is a little reindeer that goes right up in the middle here and a little bit of a border around him. So I'm probably going to do that border and that reindeer, and then slowly start working through the motifs here and then through the middle. But I think I still am not worried about getting it done at the end of October. I just wish I would have made a little bit more progress than I did, but I had a lot of stitching to do. And frankly, I have a lot of stitching to do in the future. So I need to make sure that this is always on my list, and I'm making some progress on it every single week. So yeah, my round robin piece. Made a little bit of progress on that. The other thing that I made a little bit of progress on, very little progress on, was Treasure Hunt Bookshelf Supersized Max Color. It is the Amy Stewart piece. You guys, I'm sure, have seen it before, charted by Heaven and Earth Designs. I think I added, I think it was like 390 some stitches to this. So my August WIP Go goals, which I decided to adopt for my full coverage pieces, my two big full coverage pieces, this was supposed to get 1,500 stitches. It got like 390, maybe 350. I don't know. I'd have to go back and do the math. That's a little bit more than that. But I have been itching to do these pieces, and I have been making myself do the temperature stitching and everything else, the cells, everything else. And so I just really haven't been able to get to them. They're still on my list. And now, you know, the September WIP Go numbers were called, and so this should get 1,800 stitches by that. So I have a lot of stitches I owe to this project. I did include this in my Great British Baking Show projects because I'm hoping to maybe double dip and really get some progress going on it. But I still have those on my list, and I am determined, and as you guys know, mad stubborn. So I am determined to get all those stitches in here and get this caught back up. I love this project. Every time I'm working on it, I know it's like the smallest, sad little corner of a start, but I just look at it and it makes me smile. I kind of deviated from my very strict diagonals there, because if not, it was just going to be a mess. These stitches, there's nothing else anywhere around here that's even close. That is that color. So I was trying to make things a little bit more efficient. So yeah, made a little bit of progress on that. What I did not make any progress on was my poppies piece, my other full coverage piece. I'm still trying to decide whether I want to continue with the 2/1 on the 25 count, or whether I want to switch to 1/1. I should say that this is on 20 count, easy grid, Ada, with the called for DMCs. The poppy piece is on the 25 count, easy stitch, easy grid, whatever, Lugana, with the called for DMCs. And it's that custom chart that I had done. That also I included in my Great British Baking Show projects. Again, hoping to double dip, make some progress on it. With the WIP Go numbers for September, I'm going to owe that one 1,400 stitches. So I'm really far behind on that too. I love doing the full coverage. I just need to, with the poppies, figure out what I'm doing. And again, decision paralysis kind of has me not moving forward much at all. But hoping to get there soon. I did have a new start on September 1st. Started by my Stitching Connection friends. Erin, one of my Stitching Connection buddies, wanted to start Latitude as a start along, not really a stitch along because it's such a big project, but started as a start along. And all of us are doing it in my Stitching Connection. Some other people have joined in also. We're kind of calling it a hootenanny since we're the night owls. Kind of good play on words there. But I did start it, and I have done. There's this weird stripe in the middle of that motif, and that's another story altogether. So I am doing this on Tornado by Fox and Rabbit, 32 count, and I am using Silks for You PR10. And I gave this a huge border. As you guys can see, huge border. Sorry, latitude. That's what that should look like. So just in case it's a big piece of fabric, I typically stitch in hand, but I knew with something this size, I might want to eventually put it in a scroll frame or something. And the more I stitch on it, the more I think I want to, because there's a whole lot of fabric to work around here. So I wanted to make sure I had plenty of borders to do that. And I maybe overdid it a little bit because I have plenty of borders to do that. But it is a huge piece of fabric too. I feel kind of bad because I love this fabric and I feel like I'm wasting it by having that much on the borders. But yeah, that's what it is. I also decided to join in to Andrew the Runner Stitcher's WIP Into Shape extension. Since he wasn't able to run his marathon in Sydney, he has extended the WIP Into Shape challenge through kind of end of November when he's running the New York City Marathon. I decided to copy Jessie Marie Does Stuff and stitch 26.2 stitches for every mile that he runs, since a marathon is 26.2 miles. And so I've been using this project, Latitude, for that also. It is also I've been using it for that, and it's also in British Baking Show, again, because it's something I really want to make sure I consistently make some progress on. I am all caught up as of today with the miles that Andrew has put in, but he is running 15 miles today, scheduled to run 15 miles today. So I will definitely have a fair amount of stitching. So with this, what I did is when I started it, I put in 300 and some stitches, just trying to get a good start on it. And then I started stitching along with the WIP Into Shape challenge. I could stitch on this one for days. Putting 300 stitches in it feels like putting 50 stitches in anything else. It is just so relaxing and peaceful and enjoyable. And like, I'm not having to change colors, which is nice. And I just love all the motifs. It is super, super easy stitching. So I do not imagine I will fall behind on this just because it is so easy to get those stitches in. I look forward to it every time I'm touching it. But so that is Latitude by Long Dog Samplers, one of their most recent releases. And you'll be seeing, hopefully, a lot of this soon. Let's see what else. So those August goals that I talked to you about last time that I had not touched were those two full coverage pieces. I got 300 some stitches in one of them. And the other goal that I had was to fully finish one of my objects. And I did that. Now I know there's going to be glare, and I know this is not that impressive because it's a really simple finish, but it's a finish. And baby steps here. So I took that, that finish I had, not the last finish I had, but the finish I had before that. I took that finish of the up on the rooftop stitch along with Fat Quarter Shop that I finished. And I just found this frame, didn't do anything fancy, just attached the fabric, you know, kind of laced the back a little bit, got it as straight as I could. And I think it's pretty straight, and just put it in the frame. So I think this will make a really nice holiday decoration. I'm very pleased with it. It is a very simple finish, but like I said, baby steps. So I know that I want to fully finish another one of my objects in September. My goal is kind of to fully finish one every month. So hopefully I will make some headway on that big bunch of finished objects that had never been fully finished. And I think what I'm going to do, since I have jumped into bag making a little bit, I think what I'm going to do is, and this was a suggestion of a viewer of mine, take that Home Sweet Home finish that I had, which was the first cross stitch piece I had done in years and years and years. Even though it's not really like it was a mystery stitch along, not really my aesthetic, but it's there. And a really good idea was sent to me by a viewer, and it was to put it in a bag. And so I think that's what I'm going to do. Since I'm kind of having fun making bags also, I want to like put that on the front of a bag and just kind of memorialize that. It's just a lot about my cross stitch journey. So yeah, so I think that will be my finish for September. So hopefully I'll get that done sooner rather than later. So the last thing we have to talk about today are really plans for the future. So great, the first episode of the new Great British Baking Show premiered yesterday in the US. I have not watched it yet. I'm going to go do that as soon as I'm done recording. So I haven't looked at anything. So I have absolutely no idea who won Star Baker, who got eliminated. I know nothing. So I'm excited to go watch that and figure that out and add that to my stitching for this week. So I'll be doing that stitching. I have the Gridiron Grind stitching for the Chief's Loss. It's 500 and some points, 500 some stitches. I wish it was 500 and some points. That would be a crazy game. 500 some stitches. I don't remember the exact number off the top of my head, but I know I need to do that this week. Of course, continue with temperature stitching. The third release for the Autumn Nights Sal is coming out on Monday. So I am sure I'll be doing that to try to get that going. Like I said, there's only 2 more. So I'm hopeful that I'll be able to keep up with that and get that done. And then the first clue for the Holiday House Stitch Along by Satsuma Street dropped Friday. And I looked at that and I love it. And I think that might be what I'm stitching when I'm watching the Great British Baking Show. So I'm going to be doing all of that. Also trying to keep up with WIP Into Shape challenge. Boy, I have a lot of stitching projects, a lot of stitching games and things like that going on. Yeah, so the WIP Into Shape, and then try to make some progress probably on my round robin project, as well as my full coverage pieces that I want to make progress on with the WIP Go goals. I also want to get another finished object done, and I do want to make some more bags because I'm a dork and I can't help myself. I have a lot of projects that are sitting in not ideal situations because I do not have bags. And the moment I got bags, I was just like, I need bags for everything. And since I figured out how to make them, and I didn't think it was too bad for my first try, now I want to try all sorts of bag things. So I'll try not to get too distracted with that. I also really have some knitting and quilting projects I want to get back to. So one of my plans is to not start any new stitch alongs or stitching games. I know the Autumn Nights one will be done in 2 weeks. The Holiday House only releases every other week. So it is just this week is the only time I'll have releases from both of those. So hopefully by the time the next Holiday House release comes out, I will have the Autumn Nights one finished. Gridiron Grind is going to go on for a while. So is Great British Baking Show, but that will eventually finish. It's like 10 episodes or something like that. So that's not too, I'm lying to myself. I'm saying that that's not too bad. And that's really a lot. That's a lot of stitches when I add it up. So I might end up having to alter my goals a little bit, my stitch counts for things. And if I do, that's fine. It's my rules. It's my game. It's my rules. So I can do what I need to do to make it work for me. And it is that season where I'm wanting to be stitching holiday things. Absolutely want to stitch Halloween things. I have some going, but not nearly enough. And also Christmas. I mean, that was the Holiday House thing. I really felt the need to start some Christmas stitching. So I'm keeping my eye open. I'm trying not to start new things, but something did drop this past week that I'm so tempted by. Up here, Stitching with the Housewives, every September, all of their smalls are Halloween. And I had done some of the smalls from last year Halloween that, like, if the shoe fits, and I still have 2 of them left to do those rounds. But the rounds were just released this past week. I think that just this past week, maybe it was before. I don't know. They're pink and they're super cute. I need to look to see what the other one is. I think another one has been released by now. Well, maybe not. It's the 6th. But I don't know. How cute is that? Like, it is just absolutely adorable. I am not much of a pink person. I'm really not, but I'm really drawn to this. I sat there and thought about it and was like, I'm not really into pink, but maybe I could do that on green. But then I want to do them all on the same fabric, but I don't know if there's a lot of green in the other ones. And I guess if there was, I could always switch it out with a different color. But maybe I should just go pink because, like, that is so super cute. So that dropped, tempting me pretty heavily. I do have that Great British Baking Show category that's like for ornaments and smalls. So maybe I'll just stick that in there. The intention was to work on some of the ones that I already have, but I might just have to start doing that. Other than that, I think that is about what the week is bringing me. So yeah, if you have any questions for me, please drop them in the comments. I would love to be able to answer anything that you have. Any feedback would be great. And with that, I'm going to sign off. Thank you for sharing your stitchy time with me, and I will see you next week. Bye.